You know what? We don't have a clue where the Verizon Samsung Galaxy Nexus is, but that doesn't mean we can't take matters into our own hands. What's going on, guys? I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and I've got a Samsung Galaxy Nexus in the house. It may be the HSPA Plus version, the GSM version, but hey, we've got it here. And then I also have the Motorola DROID RAZR. Now this is coming to Verizon as an LTE device, but we can get a pretty good feel as to what it looks like right now. It's dogfight time between the Galaxy Nexus and the Motorola DROID RAZR. Both have dual-core processors, both have big displays. One has a true 720p HD display, but one has an 8-megapixel camera. Which one's the ultimate Android phone? Which one's going to be the must-have phone on Verizon? Well, obviously not this one because it's not on Verizon yet, but you can get a pretty good idea as to which one to buy this holiday season. Let's take a look. But first, some love to Best Buy Mobile. When you go into Best Buy Mobile, you'll walk out working. They'll help you set up your email, your web, your camera settings, and more. They hook us up with so many cool phones for use to our One Paw Bandit game, and they're pretty cool people themselves at Best Buy Mobile. Let's take a look at it now. Samsung Galaxy Nexus, Motorola DROID RAZR. We didn't get into this in part 1, so in part 2 we're going to start off with the widgets on both of these devices. Now obviously some different widgets being stock Google versus being Android 2.3 with Motorola's custom UI over here. But both have 5 home screens, and you can access the widgets on the DROID RAZR by going over and pressing and holding the home screen, pressing and tapping until you see this. So you got some widgets, some shortcuts, and we can see all the widgets that are offered over here. Now an ice cream sandwich, they're offered along with the app. So I can either click widgets and scroll right over, or I can scroll over the widgets themselves and you can see it highlights underneath when I'm over there. So you get some stock stuff over here on ice cream sandwich. You get an analog clock, some bookmarks, calendar, and more. One of which I really like is Gmail. We'll go ahead and, actually I don't think I pressed the right one. I think I hit email. Let's go back over here and try Gmail. And we're going to bring it down. Not enough room on that home screen. So let's try this. Go over to Gmail and see if we can get this sucker to pop up on the other home screen. We'll do it right there. And what I like is it, like the tablets, it's they're dynamic widgets. I can view more conversations here with Old Man McTweety, for example, and I didn't mean to hit the send. I don't know what's going on with this, with my touchscreen accuracy today, but we'll take a look here. And go back into widgets and load up Gmail again so you can see what I'm talking about. So we're going to go over here. There we go. And I'm going to hit inbox, and you can see there's the inbox as well. So not only are they customizable to an extent where you can make it, you know, as large as the whole screen, or you can make it like that, but they're also dynamic, so I can scroll through the widget just like I can on Honeycomb, or with some of the widgets on Honeycomb, and that's pretty nice. Now over here, you get some Motorola widgets, and you get some Google widgets as well. One of my favorites, the calendar, so we'll come in here and take a look at this one, and you can see that Motorola allows some customizations to their widgets as well. You can kind of change the size around, make it larger, make it smaller to take up some space, and I really like this as opposed to some of the other ones on the market, like HTC Sense. Beautiful widgets, but not customizable in the slightest, with the exception of what they offer on the actual device itself. So widgets are pretty decent on both of these units, and Android's really done a decent job from where they started all the way up to Android 4.0 with offering some really useful widgets. Now that said, I'll be interested to see what the manufacturers do when there are custom skins that are put over ice cream sandwich, how they do with their very own widgets. That'll be particularly interesting. We're going to load up PhoneDog on both of these devices so you can see the browser performance. PhoneDog, PhoneDog.com. This is not my day with these phones. PhoneDog.com. There we go. And we'll load it up over here. PhoneDog.com. And, you know, of course, Verizon's 4G LTE blazing fast in most of the markets that I've worked with it in. Then you get HSPA Plus. I'm running AT&T over here. Now, this is the unlocked Galaxy Nexus. You can run AT&T or T-Mobile on this device, and both of AT&T and T-Mobile's 3G is supported on the unlocked Galaxy Nexus. Now, obviously, with the Verizon version, you'll get 4G LTE, which will be a really nice touch. So you can see pinch to zoom, very responsive over here, little to no lag, and very easy to use. And of course, when I want a new tab, I really like the new structure of the browser in the Galaxy Nexus. I can come over here and press and do a new tab, and then I can scroll right back to PhoneDog, and I can pick up right where I left off. Now again, transitions seem a little bit slow on the Galaxy Nexus, but you do get a nice transition effect in ice cream sandwich. So you can see pinch to zoom, very responsive there, and then over here, relatively responsive as well. You can see pretty easy to use, and then of course transitions look nice thanks to Motorola's little custom transition effect that you see there. Now what I don't like is you don't get a nice little tab solution over here, you get just text. So when I go to open a new window and I come back, you can see PhoneDog, you can see Google, but it doesn't give me a preview or show me where I left off or anything like that. So that's kind of a downer. But anyway, pinch to zoom, relatively responsive. Now where you'll get the benefit here, it's a larger display over here. You get a 4.65 inch display as opposed to a 4.3 inch display. And you could argue that, you know, some of that screen space is taken up by the on-screen buttons, but still, I find that with media consumption, browsing the web, listening to music, checking out music videos or YouTube videos, it's much better to do it on the larger display. So it comes in really handy on the Galaxy Nexus when you're doing stuff like web browsing, where I can pinch to zoom all the way out and see most of the page from here. And that's a pretty nice little feature on this device. So let's go into the tests without further ado and do those really quickly. Quadrant standard and speed test. And we're going to jump into quadrant standard here. Then we're going to go there, and we're going to run the full benchmark. Now, you know, earpiece quality, Motorola has always done an exceptional job in the voice quality department. They have great wireless radios. They've always really excelled in that. The Razr is no exception. It does really well. The earpiece is nice and loud. I've had no problems with calls, and I found that, you know, even in an area where a lot of Verizon phones just don't work, or it's just so choppy you can't understand the caller, I've been really pleased with the Droid Razr. So if you live in an area that's either, you know, mountainous terrain, or, you know, Verizon doesn't work well where you live, or you get 1 bar of service, take a look at the Droid Razr, because I'd recommend it to somebody that lives in one of those fringe areas. Now over here, earpiece volume, nice and loud. I was a little disappointed at the speaker quality. It's not as high as I would like it to be, but earpiece is great. This thing has killer noise cancellation features built in. Every time I made a call, people are like, "Where are you? I can't hear any background noise. This is the best phone experience I've ever heard you on." So that's something to keep in mind. Noise cancellation, excellent over here. You get a 1,750 milliamp hour battery in the unlocked version. You get a 1,780 milliamp hour battery in the Droid Razr, which is non-removable technically. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, also something to keep in mind, quadrant standard I don't think is optimized for ice cream sandwich just yet, so I've been seeing some low scores. Take it with a grain of salt. I mean, obviously this thing is pretty zippy fast. Zippy fast? Does anybody say that? Zippy fast. 1,586, which is obviously, you know, take it with a grain of salt. Over here you get 2,556. Now in day-to-day use, both of these seem reasonably fast, and actually in most cases the Galaxy Nexus seems a little bit faster, with the exception of transitions, as you saw in part 1 and in part 2 of this video. So let's take a look at speed test as well. Now this will be an interesting speed test because it's flipping back and forth between AT&T's 3G and HSPA Plus over here, and then you get Verizon's 4G LTE over here, so you can get an idea as to what it's like in the Charlotte metro area. So we can come over here and do speed test, and then we're going to load this up and see. Yeah, we'll keep it in Chester, and then we'll wait for this one to find its home, Chester as well. Let's begin the test and see what we can do. Now, it looks like we're on HSPA Plus, on AT&T, and 4G LTE, so 2 reasonably fast technologies. We'll see how well they perform. AT&T's looking kind of decent for HSPA Plus, coming up to 2.5 megabits per second. And then we're waiting for the Verizon one to load up as well. Now they have had some network issues. LTE was out yesterday, and it just came back, and it's been kind of wonky since. You know, speeds have been kind of interesting, but we'll see here. Looks like it's going to perform pretty well, about 10 megabits per second. Then over here, HSPA Plus, 2.62 megabits per second on the download. Looks like it slowed down a little bit over here as well. So LTE on Verizon, 7.12 megabits per second to 2.62 over here. So that's pretty reasonable and pretty kind of right on par with both technologies, be it HSPA Plus or LTE. Now you get a 5 megapixel camera over here, and this is really the disappointment of the Galaxy Nexus. The camera is absolutely terrible. I'm not going to make any bones about it. It's just a bad camera, and I find that, you know, it just takes very poor. I'll show you some pictures, but found that it takes very poor shots unless you're just in perfect lighting. So we're going to go over here, 5 megapixels with 1080p HD video recording. That's me. And then let's flip this back around, and here is my hair. You're welcome. And I can come back over here and take a picture. And you know, it's funny with this one, I actually found that the front-facing camera I thought was a little bit better than the rear camera. I just thought the quality of it was a little bit more impressive. So you can see it's focusing in on Windows Phone. What I will say is it has a quick shutter speed, so you can see there it is. We'll click on that and get it to load up in the gallery here. And you can see, you know, it's pretty easy to see the texture. It's quick and easy to see the Windows Phone. It looks good, but still, in comparison to some of the 8 megapixel shooters on the market, iPhone 4S, some of the HTC devices, and then even this device performs pretty well in the camera department. It's just not a comparison. So you think, you know, it's a high-end flagship device with a camera that's just really not that impressive. So you can see here on the Droid Razr, you can bring it in, pinch to zoom, and see that it's very clear, very easy to read. So the camera test goes to the Motorola Droid Razr. I know it's quick, but take a look at both of these in store when it comes out on Verizon, and you know, even if you want to buy one right now unlocked and take it for a test drive, the camera is just unimpressive on the Galaxy Nexus, and that has been pretty frustrating to me. Another thing I want to show you is the call the call application on both of these devices, and we're going to bring this one up here, and you can see between the two, that's what they look like. You've got Motorola's UI over here, you've got stock ice cream sandwich over here. On the Motorola DROID RAZR, you get recent contacts and favorites, and you can access your contacts directly from there, so that's a pretty nice touch as well. So both are pretty well equipped in that department. So all in all, you know, both of these are good devices. It's always nice to see additions and choices to Verizon's 4G LTE lineup when this device, if this device, finally comes to the nation's largest wireless carrier. Now that said, you know, it's a tough call between this dogfight. The dogfight winner is the Galaxy Nexus, just because it's the most up-to-date. It does really well in performance, with the exception of transition effects, and yes, it has a terrible camera in my opinion, but it makes up for it with a nice big display that's great, you know, true HD display, a decent front-facing camera. Of course, it's running ice cream sandwich out of the gate, which is really nice. And then, you know, the one downside of this is I don't feel ice cream sandwich is that consumer friendly. I think things like combining apps and widgets serves to kind of confuse the customer. So if you're watching this, and you're probably watching this as a, you know, high-end Android user, the Galaxy Nexus is the winner of the dogfight, and that's going to be the one for you. Now, if you're coming into this and you're like, you know, I'm just getting a smartphone for the first time, I want something that's pretty easy to use, I still think the DROID RAZR is the easier device of the two to use. I think having a carrier or a custom manufacturer skin installed is a benefit. I think this one's easy to use. It's very responsive. In terms of speed, you're going to be happy with either one of these. And I think the design of this is pretty impressive at 7.1 millimeters thick. So good in design, great on the camera front, but you know, running on an older version of Android. Over here, you get the latest and greatest, but a poor camera. So it's up to you to decide. Much more coverage to come on PhoneDog.com with both of these devices. Like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/PhoneDog. We're always, you know, giving away stuff. We're chatting on there with you. We're just cool people to talk to. So like us, Facebook.com/PhoneDog. Let me know what you think. You have the DROID RAZR. Maybe you got the Galaxy Nexus unlocked and you love your particular device. Let me know. Hit me up on Twitter, PhoneDog_Aaron, and on Facebook at Facebook.com/PhoneDogAB. Thanks so much for watching. More coverage, more dogfights with both of these devices, so stay tuned to PhoneDog.com. We'll see you next time.